Good morning, Boker Tov. The opening story of this week's Torah portion is Abraham seeing three men walking down the road as he's sitting at the door of his tent. And he gets up and he runs towards them and he invites them into his home as his guests. And he serves them a lavish meal. And then our rabbis tell us these weren't ordinary men. They were actually angels sent on a mission to heal Abraham from the circumcision, to notify Sarah and Abraham that they would have a child. And one of the Hasidic masters makes a very brilliant observation. He says in the beginning of the story, you find the words, Abraham sitting at the door of his tent, and he sees three people, nitzavim alav, standing over him, meaning he's sitting and they're walking on the road above him. And he runs towards them and invites them in. And then he tells Sarah to prepare cakes, and he brings a tender calf and milk and cream. And the closing line of the story is, V'hu omed aleihem, and he's standing over them underneath the tree as they ate in the shade of the tree. So the Hasidic master, the Belzer Rabbi, says, look at the contrast between the beginning of the story and the end of the story. In the beginning of the story, it says that the angels were standing over him. But at the end of the story, when he's serving them, he's standing over them. And it doesn't just mean physically that they were sitting and he was standing, but it means to say that while the angels were above Abraham spiritually, they were on a higher level because they're angels. When Abraham started to perform acts of kindness, to host them, to feed them, to serve them underneath the tree, he was now on a higher spiritual level than even the angels. He was above them. Because when a human being chooses to do acts of goodness, kindness, and righteousness, he's greater than the angels, because the angels don't have free will. They have no choice. When a human being chooses to be righteous, when they had an alternative not to be generous and kind, they are higher and greater than the angels. It's a story told about a man who came to the Baal Shem Tov and he said, I want to see Elijah the prophet. I want to meet the great Elijah the prophet. The Baal Shem Tov says, I'll tell you what to do. There's a poor family, a widow and children. They live in the outskirts of the city. They have no money. They're poor. Load up your wagon with the best food and go spend Shabbat with them, and you'll see Elijah the prophet. The man was so excited. He bought the best food, went to the outskirts of the city, knocked on the door, said, I'd like to spend Shabbat with you. I bought delicious food for you and your family. The widow and the children were overjoyed, and they had the most delightful Shabbos. The rich man was waiting to see Elijah the prophet. He waited Friday night, Shabbat morning, Shabbos afternoon. Didn't see Elijah the prophet. Shabbat ended, they made Havdalah, and he went home very disappointed. He went back to the Baal Shem Tov and he said, I did what you told me to do and I didn't see Elijah the prophet. The Baal Shem Tov says, okay, do the same thing this coming Shabbat, and you'll see Elijah the prophet. So he went and he packed up the wagon with the best food. When he came to the outskirts of the city, he went to the door, and as he was about to knock on the door, he overhears on the other side of the door, of the flimsy door in the flimsy home, the children are crying and they're saying, Mama, Mother, what are we going to eat this Shabbat? We have no food. We are so poor. We have nothing to eat. We're starving. And the mother says, children, have faith in God. And if we have faith in God, God will send us Elijah the prophet again, like he did last Shabbat. And then the man understood what the Baal Shem Tov said. If you want to see Elijah the prophet, just look at yourself. We all want to see an angel, but you could even be an angel. You could be greater than the angels. And that's the message of Abraham serving these guests. He stands above, taller, higher in stature than even the angels. Every one of us could do the same. Have a wonderful day.